Hey everybody, once again we're in the Centurion, this time on Live Oaks, solo pubbing, and I've ended up on the North Spawn. Now, because I am in my Centurion, I'm not going to go into the city. It's not really the best place for ascent. It just doesn't have the armor to tank hits, and it doesn't have anywhere it can use its gun depression. Now, if I go down the rails, on the other hand, although it's a less important position, I do have somewhere I can use that gun depression, and so the lack of armor is not as big of a deal. Straight away, Maradi says they need to counter battery. No. No, 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 no. Please. Okay, Arty players. If you have a lit target, shoot it. I don't care how many Arty there are on the enemy team or how much you think you want to counter battery. If you have a lit target, especially if it's something like a heavy tank or a TD, shoot that. Ignore the Arty. The only time you should ever do counter battery in a pub match is if you have nothing else to shoot at. By failing to shoot at actual tanks and just shooting at enemy Arty who may not even be contributing anything to the match, you're just screwing your team. So move into this bush here next to the Bulldog. Typically I take this position in my scent just because the camera gives me a little bit of cover at longer distances. Obviously if they get close they'll see me, but from the distance that 3002's at, and in fact he's probably running a pretty ordinary crew, I would imagine, without view range skills and probably no optics. Obviously he didn't see me, nor does the T-34, although I back up into complete hold down to type anyway. Incidentally, I was probably stealing all that spotting from the Bulldog, because I would imagine a player like him would not be running all the things he would need to give it a longer view range than my Cent has. Alrighty, puts a good shot into 3002. Enemy Wheezy charges at us, and then an interesting camera bug happens. Again, this is replay only stuff that can happen in the match. The Wheezy burns all the way down. He's probably running gas instead of fire extinguisher. If he was running consumables at all, that is. There's no point sitting back anymore, so I begin to push in. I don't know why our Bulldog is trying to frontally engage an ST1 and an STA, but it's a really stupid idea. The only reason he's getting away with it is because they have a bigger target in the form of the T-34, and now also in the form of my Centurion. But the STA goes for the Bulldog. He sees an easy target when I drive around to ram him, and he wants that instead of me. Do take a hit there from the Arty. Two of the Arty, in fact. I decide to hit repair on my tracks because there are that many enemy Arty and potentially all of them could hit me, and the Centurion's rather allergic to Arty shells. And if you look at the map, we might be pushing pretty hard down the south, but it's now just me and the two light tanks. Everything else that came this way is dead. Also, if you look at the north end of the map, looking at what we have in city, we have an E75, an E50, and a VK2801, and they're not even in the city, they're just sitting on the edge of it, in a position where they can be forced into a concave gun line by the enemy tanks. Not really the smartest play by my team, so I look at that and I realise I'm going to have to do a lot of the work here because my teammates are going to roll over and die any minute now. T-71 tries to get the Arty and it isn't successful. You know, the GW Panther's around the corner, and sure enough he's trying to shotgun me. Not today. He's looking for shots on the Arty until this guy popped up. He is a much bigger threat to me at the moment. and because of my bad on the move accuracy, I stopped to take the shot. I'm lucky that I don't stop for very long because the arty began firing at me. Get one into him on the move. Now I want to run for this depression in front of me so I can fight him hull down instead of hull up. He inexplicably switches targets. And then I get bitten by the Centurion's bat on the move accuracy, which is funny since the Centurion, I believe, was the first, or one of the first NATO tanks with 2-plane stabilization. Able to finish off the arty, much to the disappointment of our Bulldog, who wanted to get one of the arty killer medals. Well, not today, son. If he wasn't able to kill the arty during the time I was distracted by the JP2, then I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen. I began pushing north to try and get some shots in the backs of these guys as they push towards our cap. Holy shit, this replay is just running like crap. If anyone from Wargame is watching this, please just fucking drop everything. I don't care what it is, just drop everything and fix this bug. Seriously. It's just irritating. Anyway, I get an unlucky bounce off the IS-3. I then take a relatively unaimed shot at the IS-8. Not likely to hit, and indeed it doesn't, and it looks like our Bulldog is happy to deny me any more experience by just capping out instead of coming to kill things. He's also denying himself any more experience because at this point these enemy tanks are very much distracted. He could have pushed in with me and shot a bunch of people in the back. He could have had the best game of his life, probably, if he'd done any real damage in the light tank, but he's content to sit on the cap instead, when we could still easily win this without capping. Not so much now. That was a terrible shot. It wasn't well timed at all. It hit the wrong side of the IS-3's pike and bounced straight off. Now with him pushing on me like this, I'm forced to take a very bad shot at the wrong part of his turret, where it's sloped enough to actually bounce me. And then he's able to put a shot into me. A low roll, but it does take off a lot of major points. I'm able to finish him just before the end of the match. But honestly, that M103 and IS-8 would have gone down easily. The M41 should have come back with me, and we could have double teamed them, and it would have been better XP for everybody. There is a tooltip in one of the loading screens that says don't listen to bloodthirsty teammates. You don't get more experience for killing everybody than you do for capping. That's actually not correct. Well, technically it might be, but the point is, the more damage your team does, the more XP there is to go around. That's why if you have seen matches where there's a cap fast within like a minute or two of the match starting and nobody's done over 1,000 damage, everyone gets screwed for XP. It's just an awful game. So there's no point to capping unless you absolutely must do it to win the game. In this case, maybe the Bulldog thought it was insurance that he needed to take out. Maybe he thought I couldn't handle those tanks, but I think I would have been quite comfortable doing so, even more comfortable had I not thrown away so many hit points to the IS-3. Anyway, thanks for watching. It just breaks up my usual videos on this map, which are typically done in other tanks and show me charging headlong into the city. I have tried to play the Centurion on the west, bring it out into the angled houses, playing around in the field there, and a few times into city, but it doesn't work out very well, especially in higher tier, well not higher tier because it's tier 9, but in heavier matches. Tier 10 matches in particular, where you've got things like Waffenträger E100s and 268s and JPEs all lined up on the D-line ridge. That is not ever a place a Centurion should drive anywhere it's exposed to those things in a gun line. And so with the Centurion and a couple of my other tanks that have good gun depression, I will still push south. The city is, I think, a good place for mediums, but it's a good place for mediums that have armor. or are small and difficult to hit, or best case scenario, both. Large mediums that make easy targets, such as Centurions, really should just stay out of the city from both spawns. I mean, the D-line ridge is doable in a sense, and you can hold down on this sort of C2, D2 area on the slope there, but you aren't going to really get good shots there unless your team lights tank destroyers sitting on the little peninsula at D7. And really there's not much point positioning for something so specialized. So even from the south spawn, I tend to run to the D-line ridge, get a couple of shots off, and then I've either stay there and fight there the whole match because our team's getting pushed out of the city, or shift south depending on how the game's going. Sometimes I will charge into the city after the D-line, but typically that's if my team is already taking town and pushing the enemy out of it. If the enemy have actually got a decent foothold in town, which would indicate they actually know what they're doing, there's not really much to be achieved by driving the Centurion in there. It's much stronger either sitting on the D-line ridge where it can hold down, or heading south where there's lots of terrain you can take advantage of. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I'll see you next time.